Yo, what's up, freaks? NB Marshall here, and welcome to the NB Marshall Show. Tonight, I am joined by the very special Mr. Ryan Roxie, and we talk about what it takes to make you a world-class entertainer, from dreaming in your bedroom to playing Madison Square Gardens. Stay tuned.
All right, I'm just going to start, but before I go on, can you hear the gig that's playing out the front of my house? There's literally 10,000 people out the front of my house at a live show.
Well, that's actually quite refreshing, but no, I don't hear a single thing.
Yeah.
It tasted better than it should. Last night I looked the devil in the eye. I took a hostage and I took him inside.
Tonight I am joined by guitarist from Slash and Snake Pit, Alice Cooper, singer, songwriter, total badass, my mate, Ryan Roxie. How are you?
What is happening, MV Marshall? Nice to be here.
I haven't seen you since this time last year. I thought it'd be really special for us to get together on Valentine's Day, because the last time I saw you was when you guys were rocking Rod Laver Arena on the 14th of February last year in Melbourne.
I remember. Has anything happened since then? Really?
Has anything happened since that gig? No, you were the last
Nothing
one.
at all, right?
We all just gave
Business
up. We were
is
like,
normal.
that was it. It was Airborne, Alice Cooper. You guys rocked it. And we were just like, yeah, we're done with gigs now. That was great.
No, that's not the way I was thinking. I was saying this is a great way to start the year, and this is going to be a kick-ass year of touring. And then the world had other plans, apparently.
Yeah.
But don't forget about MC50. I think they opened up the show as well, and
Oh yeah.
it was a really cool triple bill. And
Yeah.
I like triple bills. I've always loved the triple bill sort of show even more. I mean, I guess more it turns into a little bit more of a festival type of thing, but with three bands playing at one show, you get the best of every world. And you know what slot I would rather have in any triple bill? The middle slot is always the best.
Yeah. The energy's better.
'Cause the opening band primes them up, then you go on as the middle slot, and then, you know, the traditional headliner goes on third, and you know, they have to live up to the second band's energy. And like I said, it wasn't always easy to do that on this triple bill, because Airborne was kicking ass every night. So I always, if I was going to prefer something, I'd take the paycheck of the third band, but then take the slot of the second band.
Yeah. Where the
Kinda
energy
like what we did with the Motley Crue tour, when for like, you know, almost 2 years, we were able to do the final Motley Crue tour, and we were sort of the middle slot of that. We went on right before Motley every single night in all these bucket list arenas, and
Wow.
for me it was great because we get to play our rock show, and then just, you know, pretty much chill out for a second, and next thing you know, we get to go watch the end of Motley Crue, and it was great.
Yeah, great energy. So obviously a lot's changed this year, 2021. You know, the last time I saw you, a lot has changed. So I'm not going to put my head in the sand and say nothing has changed. What's changed
No
for you? But things have changed a lot. Are you finding more now that there's a lot of collaboration going on, and you're changing up the way you do things? Like how have you adapted and how have you pivoted in this time?
I am finding out that, and it's a good thing that I did start a podcast like you're doing and a show like you're doing. I do something similar within the trenches. I'm kind of happy in some ways that I started it before the pandemic, because I realized how hard it could be if there's no pandemic. You know, and it's still hard to put on any show regardless at any time of any state of the world.
Mhm.
But I started it a tiny bit before, and I was having a hard time nailing people to come on and commit to doing an interview, because they were all working or recording or doing. So when the pandemic hit, all of a sudden, all these open interviews and slots and time just, you know, sort of opened up, and I was able to get a lot of people on my show, a lot of bucket list sort of guests that I always wanted to talk to and interview, and I was able to get them to commit. So, you know, unfortunate because of the pandemic, but fortunate that there was extra time for all of us to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what's the biggest blessing that's come from this for you? Out of the pandemic, what's the biggest blessing? What can you take from it?
Two things that I could take from this really tumultuous, you know, seemingly crap ass way, you know.
Yeah, seemingly crap ass. I'm going to hashtag that.
All right. Very good. You can have that one.
Thank you.
But the thing is, I feel that because I was able to get a lot of guests and sort of cultivate the community with the podcasting and help it grow. That was kind of a cool thing that I was able to do in 2020, as well as put together a really cohesive new guitar learning system that I have out now called the System 12 Guitar Method, because I actually had the time to film it, produce it, raise money for it, and now it's complete. And I really think that it's one of the best ways to sort of start your guitar journey if you're thinking about playing guitar. And that's pretty much my mission now, is to get as many people playing guitar as possible, like yourself.
Yay. And I was going to say that about the method, because I was looking it up and I'm wanting to talk to you about this during the show. Maybe we can sort of tee up a challenge, which I think would be really cool.
Of course.
But it's for anyone at any level. So it's beginner, intermediate.
Yeah, I would say it's best for the beginners and intermediates, because at a certain point, we want everybody to fly from the nest. We want everyone to sort of, start going down that YouTube rabbit hole by themselves and start that self-learning by themselves. And you're going to do that regardless. I think however far you get into your guitar journey, hopefully it's to the point where you are just taking it upon yourself to learn and get better. But what the System 12 does is I think it gives you probably the best foundation you could ever have for getting to that point where you can teach yourself. And we do it in a relatively simple way, really easy to understand. And whether you've never played guitar or you have some knowledge of guitar, or you have, a bit of knowledge, I say beginners to intermediate, it's a really good foundational course that you can get in there and learn a whole bunch of new sort of tricks and tips, and pretty much all my experience that I've had playing guitar and teaching guitar for the last 40 years went into that course.
You know why you interest me? Because you're literally a man that is living his passion. He's doing what he loves. He's everything else. You've burned your boats. There's no other job for you. This is what you do. This is who you are. And I think there's a difference between, being good and being great. And you are one of the greats. Let me say that.
Well, thank you very much.
What do you think? What do you think makes the difference between being good and being great?
Exactly what you just said. Doing what you love to do. I think a lot of people can be really good at something and get good at something. I'm learning, different things throughout the years. I dipped my toe in the trading world and I was really interested in it. And I thought it might be something that I could sort of put in a new passion to it. And then I found out that it wasn't, it takes a whole nother type of personality to be a good financial trader.
Yes.
It takes crazy balls. It takes, a lot of time, just like learning an instrument. But for me, the true passion, being on stage, performing for people, and being able to play this instrument that I played since a very young age, I've just always loved it. And I guess I don't consider it as much of a job as I do something that it's just what I do. And if everybody can find it is what they do and they're good at it, and they can find some way to make money out of it and make a living at it, then do that. Because I understand about making a living. I understand about doing a lot of other things, other than what your true passion is to make ends meet. I get it, but there is a way, and I'm really confident about that you can do what you love and make money from it. It's like, and that whole talk about, well, music is so competitive and such. No, there's competition in any field that you decide to be successful in. I don't care if you want to be the best plumber, in your town. There's still going to be some other plumber that's going to be vying for that same business, or whether it's, so you just have to, pick and sort of find out what it is that really drives you, really is your passion, and then focus on it, hyper focus on it, and do something every single day. I mean, a lot of these sort of lessons that we have, I guess there may be life lessons, are sort of peppered in to the System 12, because there's a phrase that I was taught and I hand it down to my students that take the System 12. It's practice, persistence, and patience. Those are the things that I feel, the 3 Ps that really help you try to, get to that point where you can make a living doing the thing that you love.
You can be good. I think you can be good at something. And there are plenty of good people that are great, practically good. but then they don't get on stage, or they don't take it to the next level, or there's a block. So I think what I'm asking is, what is the difference between you're saying that practice and persistence and continue, but there are a lot of people that have all that but still don't go that extra mile. There's a lot of passionate people that don't
patience, man. That's a tough. The last one is kind of like the most important one, because I think too many people they want it, especially in this world that we live in now, in this sort of instant gratification world that we have. It's like we want things, and we're all Veruca Salts. You know, I want a golden goose, and I want it now. So for those of you that don't know, that's the original Willy Wonka movie, which is one of my favorites. Even though the Johnny Depp version is great, yeah, I get it. But guess what? The original Gene Wilder 1970s Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory will always be superior, just so you know.
You're in Sweden, and I met you in Sweden. I met you in Sweden in 2011 at Sweden Rock.
Wasn't it at a Sweden Rock Festival?
Yeah,
big
I
festival.
met you at Sweden Rock Festival.
It's one of Europe's biggest festivals, folks. The biggest European festival that I've been lucky enough to play a couple times is Wacken, and that's in Germany. And that has about 80,000 people in it. But Sweden Rock, for some reason, is just full on party from the, Thursday that it starts, or maybe even Wednesday now, to the, Saturday night where it ends. It's just a full on Swedish party. And a lot of people think that it's in one of the major cities, Stockholm or Gothenburg. No, it's out in the middle of nowhere. That's why there's nothing else to do but rock and party.
Yes.
And a bunch of other debauchery.
In Kristianstad, right? Yeah.
Which one?
It's in Kristianstad, isn't it? Am I saying that right?
Kristianstad. Yeah.
Kristianstad.
Somewhere around there, but it's like it's out on this field. It's been there forever, and fingers crossed it'll happen.
It'll be back. Who are you playing with?
Maybe not even this year, but we'll see.
Who are you playing with when I met you there? Were you with Alice?
I'm not sure if it was 2011. It was before I got back together with Alice Cooper. So I might have just been guesting.
Okay.
I've been lucky enough when I go down there. I was working with Gibson Guitars at that point, just pretty much chilling on the Gibson bus that they had down there, doing a bunch of interviews, kind of what, was sort of the start of this idea that I had for Big Rock Show, which turned into In the Trenches, and which is now the In the Trenches podcast. But it's basically just having these conversations with rock stars and entertainers and just full on personalities that, in the back of the bus. And I wanted to bring that to the forefront and have people, be inspired by their conversations.
Well, in Sweden at the moment, I know the laws are different everywhere. I don't want to get too deep into the COVID thing, but I heard that you guys were kind of not exempt, but there was a while there where you guys weren't as locked down as we were here in Australia. Is that right, or am I wrong?
There was a time when everybody was looking at the Swedish model as, hey, they did it right. And there was another time when it went 180 degrees different, where people were going, no, that's not the right way. So I really think it's still a gray area. And I do remember the official saying from the beginning, because they didn't have these severe lockdowns, because they thought it was more important for the economy to survive, as well as, people take it upon themselves to sort of social distance, which this country does. My daughter, who's quite young, who says some really smart things a lot of times. She goes, the way that it worked out in Sweden, the plan that they implemented, she doesn't think, and I now agree, wouldn't work in other places. Because you have to understand, the complete population of Sweden is about 9 to 11 million, right. Somewhere around there. And it's like, that's the population of Los Angeles, so you can't do the same sort of plan when you have that many people across a whole country that's basically the size of Europe. Sweden's a big country. People don't see it. They just look at it and they go, oh, it's at the North Pole. Well, yeah, it's at the North Pole, but it goes down quite south, And so the thing is, I really do feel that a lot of the things that we did implement here would not have worked in other bigger places and compact cities and populations, because you could just see it by the numbers. The numbers of all that kind of stuff in Stockholm, which is the biggest city compared to the rest of the country, is crazy. So, yeah, who really knows? I mean, thank God I'm a rock and roll guitar player.
Yeah.
Not, not a doctor.
Did you ever go to quarantine or have to do any of that stuff?
This is my quarantine. I've been spending 98% of my time just basically in this room, whether it's doing live streams, recording, and doing the guitar lessons, or doing the podcast.
Oh.
So yeah, my wife tries to get me out of the house like once a day, and if I get out of the house once a day and like walk down to the local like walk down to the local store and get some stuff for dinner and bring it back to cook it, that's like, wow, a huge day.
Is this because like you were on the road so much and now you've got this gift? You're like, oh my God, I can be in my house.
It might be because for the last, I can't even remember how many years. I mean, definitely since, because I started Alice in 96, right? 1996, toured with him off and on all the way up until 2005. Then there was a big break when I moved to Europe and moved to Sweden. So there was those years where I was still working. I was still, traveling around, but I was mostly in Europe. But then since 2012, I really haven't spent that much time, like you said, in my own house. So yeah, I'm quite comfortable with spending time in an enclosed area. Like, I spend a lot of time in hotel rooms or dressing rooms anyway when I'm on the road. So this to me is not that much different. Yeah, I should get out more.
But you've been out for years. Like this is your opportunity just to sort of ground and
perhaps
be home and connect. I want to go back to what we were talking about before about being good, being great. And there's another gap there, which is being good, being great. And then there's being world class. And that's something that I like to study, the next level. So what's next after that? Someone that's pursuing their passion and is at the top of their game, what separates them?
Luck, right place, right time, wrong place, a lot of wrong times, but persistence and patience to get to that right place. I think. I mean, I've been lucky enough to be associated with those, like you say, iconic names, like the household names. When you introduced me, you said Alice Cooper, and everybody in the room knows Alice Cooper. When he comes into the room, you just know, everyone whispers or turns their head and like, that's Alice. That's the Alice Cooper. Slash is another one that's been, just again, a household name. But how do you get to that? I don't know if it's like any hidden secret. It's just sometimes you just allow it to happen. A lot of times we put those roadblocks in front of ourselves, with our own self-doubt or our own, like I said, doubting ourselves. And we can't do that. You have to like really believe what you're doing and what you're selling. And there's no doubt that when you watch Alice Cooper on stage and he becomes Alice, from the time that he gets into the venue and from the time that he sort of walks into the venue and becomes, turns on the clothes, puts on the eye makeup, he's believing it 100%,
So that's interesting to me, because getting out of your own way as an artist is obviously a big thing. So you have to believe what you're doing, but there are certain people that do have doubts. And are you saying that you've never doubted yourself, or have you doubted yourself?
Definitely, I've doubted myself before. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I think we all sort of question, am I really, is this really going to happen? Am I really good enough? Am I really worthy of this? And I think a lot of that has to do with your own ego. And I think when you can take a step back and you can sort of rationalize all the good ideas that you do have and give yourself credit for them, and then pursue them and focus on making those ideas and dreams become reality, then all that other kind of ego stuff and doubt stuff goes away, because you change from doubt to intention. And when you you change from wishing for something to happen to intending something happen. That's kind of important. That's something that I've learned in the last few years. It's like I now don't desire and wish for things to happen. I intend things happen. If they don't, and they don't happen, then, you know, then there's another plan for it. And but if I intend for something to happen, it 9 times out of 10 usually happens.
So I guess there's a difference between hoping and expecting, and like you said before, intending versus, you know, wishing or whatever. There's a different energy in that. And I think when there's that big energy behind something, like if you're expecting something to happen, you're certain. And I think certainty versus uncertainty, I think that might be a big difference between someone that makes it and someone that doesn't. Like having that just true belief in what they're doing. And like what you said before, going back to the System 12 guitar method, that comes from just fundamentals and drilling them into yourself and having that subconscious level of mastery, not just the conscious.
Exactly. The other thing is, and I know that it goes against pretty much everything that we're kind of raised to believe, is that the competition thing. If you look at your fellow musician and you look at them as a competitor, and I know it's sports, it's really hard not to, but I think a lot of great sports figures do realize this. That's why they're not completely gutted when they lose a game, because they know there's going to be another game. I feel that with musicians, sometimes there's so much competition that you start looking at the other musician in a negative light, where in reality, it should be nothing but support, and realizing that there's enough room for all of us to do our thing. There's enough room for all of us to be successful. It doesn't mean there's just one spot for it. All right. And too many times we get caught up in well, this person has this many followers and this person, you know, I'm guilty of it myself. Trust me, folks. But I have to catch myself constantly saying, look, don't compare. The minute you start comparing yourself to another artist, then it's putting a negative taint on the whole experience. And the experience should be, you know, that's another thing that I say all the time to myself. And I introduce it in the System 12 guitar method, is enjoy the ride. Because this world, whether you choose to play guitar or whether you choose to be a race car driver, or whether you choose to, you know, play golf, whatever it is that you decide that you want to do, you have to enjoy the process of doing it. And that's why I say enjoy the ride always, because, you know, it is a ride. And if you view it as a ride, you realize that, you know what, at one point we're all going to get off that ride. And so we might as well enjoy it while we're on it.
Are you quoting Bill Hicks?
I don't know if I am, but he,
I do you like Bill?
Yeah, all right. I mean, dude, I listen to enough podcasts and comedians podcasts and their shows that his name comes up constantly. Okay. So I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just a ride. He says that
it's either Bill Hicks or Jordan Peterson or or Joe Rogan or, you know, Andrew Schultz. I mean, there's so many like really good speakers out there, you know, doing their shows and doing their things, and Envy Marshall as well.
So that when you say competition, I love that, because what I think competition comes from the Latin word conspire, which means conspire together. So I think people look at it like where it's a negative thing, like I'm competing against that person, I've got to get the follower and I've got to get my name out, but there's literally, when we're working in the same environment and working together, it's an energy, and we can like build each other up, we can stand on each other's shoulders. And I think that's a big part of, like I've done it too. Like I've like looked on stage and gone, why her? You know, and then that's such a limiting energy that diminishes my strengths. It doesn't make me stronger.
Exactly. And the other thing is, it makes you feel like you don't deserve to be in the room. Like when you walk into a room and you see a bunch of other people that you're either intimidated by or feel this sort of competitiveness with it, then all of a sudden you feel non-deserving about being in the room. And I'm constantly telling myself, you've worked hard enough to do this, Ryan. You're not a household name. Don't go kidding yourself. You've been lucky to be associated, you know, with a lot of sort of great names and great musicians throughout your whole career. Everyone's helped you, but at the same time, you deserve to be in the room. You know what? If I walked into the room and Paul McCartney was there, Dave Grohl was there, ghost of Kurt Cobain was there, and fucking, my favorite band Cheap Trick was all there, and Alice was there, I'd be like, yeah, I deserve to be, at least standing in the room with these guys. I might not have had as many hits. I might not have had as much accolades put on me, but at the same time, I feel that I deserve, with what I bring to the table, and I know what I bring when I perform live, that I deserve to sit in the room.
And that's amazing, because that's just self-talk, and a massive part of being a show, like an entertainer and being on stage. You've got to master that self-talk, because not only are you being, I don't know, we must be insane. Not only are you being judged by peers, you're being judged by the people in the audience, but you're not. But the thing is, you are, because we're all human beings, and something has to happen in your brain where your self-talk is stronger than the self-talk of everybody else's in the room, on social media, everywhere else. So does it come
Think
down
about
to
it? Nobody talks to you more than yourself. and nobody's with you more than more than yourself. You are in this,
our phones
in
are.
this world. Huh?
Our phones are.
Well, if you look at Elon Musk, this is just an extension. If you listen to him, this is just going to be an extension of us. This is going to be the avatar self. So, this is a little bit of an extension. Look at you. Look how close it is to you. Look at it is for me.
I was like, So the voice is in, there's a noise in my head that is me. We have 60,000 thoughts a day or whatever, and most of them are the same. So breaking through and replacing those thoughts is a big part of self-mastery. I think that's huge. But then you pick this up, and it's like every 5 minutes, it's just blah, blah, and you're like, oh. So you've got to train yourself away from reacting to that too, to the news, to things that pop up. So that's interesting. So, but I think that's what I'm bringing this back to, and that's why you fascinate me, because a big part of what you do on these big shows and how you do it, there must be a big part of you that has mastered yourself, mastered the way you think, mastered the way you behave to get to a certain level, and that's what's very, very interesting to me. So what are you saying to yourself? Like, what are you saying to yourself? Do you still talk to yourself when you're out on stage, or are you at a point now where you're okay?
No, I definitely still talk to myself. A lot of the times I'm like, is this really fucking happening? For instance, like the last time we played in Sydney, and we did that bushfire,
at the stadium. Yeah, the footy stadium. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, like, over 70,000 people at, Sydney's stadium. And, I'm just looking at it going, is this really happening? But then I realized that, I have done this through much smaller crowds in smaller venues. I've been doing it for a long time. So this isn't that much different. I said this quote on stage when my own solo band, it was called Roxie 77 or Happy Pill at the time. We opened up for Kiss. And I said in the microphone, because I really felt it at that exact moment, I said, this is just like any other gig, but just a hell of a lot more bathrooms. Because I was looking at it was a stadium gig, and I was looking at all these porta potties that were lined up, like out, somewhere at the end of the venue and stuff like that. And I was just like looking way, way, way back there. And I was like going, people waiting in line to go to the bathroom. And I was like going, this is like any other club gig that I've done, but just like, look at a shitload more fucking outhouses.
So you're talking to yourself, and the internal dialogue that you have, it's that's big, because what happens up here manifests in your life, and it comes true for you.
Well, true. But at the same time, you're also, that's half of it. You're half talking to yourself about all this cool stuff that you're taking in and seeing, but you're also thinking like, okay, what's my next part? What are the lyrics? Because not everything is in, your backbone. You got to sing songs and you have to play right notes as well. So that does take up a lot of the energy as well, which is an important thing to do. At the end of the day, people aren't going to come and see you at a stadium if you're playing fucking wrong notes all the time.
What's been your favorite? I know it's probably a question that's been smashed to death, but when did you stand there and look out and go, oh yeah, this is my dream, I've got it? What was your moment?
Wow, that sort of moment. I don't know if it's been a long time ago or like just recently or just get reinforced every time. But there's sort of bucket list venues that I got, that I've gotten the opportunity to play where I kind of go, yeah, this is what you dreamed about when you were a kid. Like when we were on that Motley Crue tour, we got to play a sold out Madison Square Garden in New York City, which is like, I'd lived in New York City for a long time. And that was just one of those venues for any rock and roll musician, because you just think of you just think of Kiss, and you think of, just Led Zeppelin, and you think of all these amazing bands that have played that venue. And then you go, shit, I'm now one of those bands. So that's one of those moments. But early on, I think maybe the first tour, well, shit, even before that, because I was playing with Gilby Clarke in his solo band, and we did a tour of South America, and we did where did we go to? Santiago, Chile, and then we went over to Buenos Aires, and then we did a few other countries in South America, opening up for Aerosmith. And it was the first time I've ever gotten to play a soccer stadium, and with the passion of the crowd. So that was one of those things where it's like, holy shit, this is bigger than any gig I've ever played in my life. So cool. That was one of those moments, and that was before I joined Alice. But then, obviously, throughout those years, gigs like I was mentioning earlier, the Wacken Festival, when there's like 120,000 people in the audience, that's a pretty damn big crowd. And,
huge.
Rock in Rio and stuff. So, I mean, those are those moments that, don't happen all the time. There's just like a small finite amount of bands that get to play in front of those types of crowds all the time. One of the, I guess, coolest things about playing with Alice Cooper over all these years is that we've played the entire spectrum. And I think, because that's another question that comes up is like, oh, do you like playing club gigs or do you like playing bigger gigs? I'm like, I just like playing gigs. I mean, especially after 2020, I just like playing a gig. But, for instance, when we did do the Sydney gig, what was it? What did I call it? I came up with the guys in the band. I said, because what we had done is we had played an arena, I think the night before.
Yeah.
And then after the arena gig, we played, this was in Sydney, we played a club. We played Frankie's Pizza.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And
Frankie's,
then
hell yeah.
played the stadium gig. And I called it something. It was like SAP or a SAC pack. That was at SAC pack. And it was a stadium arena club.
Cool.
And in 24 hours. So we got to experience,
Everything.
what it was like, that whole that whole spectrum. And it was really cool to play those gigs in that amount of time. And so there's very few people I think that have been in the SAC pack. If you're a member of the SAC pack, please come forth and get in touch with me. We'd like to hear your story.
You're so lit up right now. Like, I love that. And I want to go back, like when you were first starting out to getting to play in the SAC pack, like there must have been a time when you were playing these smaller clubs where you did have some doubts and you were like, what kept you going when everything around you told you to quit?
Wow. That's a good question, because what does keep one going, you just kind of have to realize that you have to have that patience. I mean, it's such an easy word to say, such a hard thing to have. And I just basically would keep telling myself things will work out the way I want them to work out. It's just going to take some time, whatever it does happen. And that's something that I've sort of tried to tell myself over the last few years, is that try to look at every situation as a positive, and it sounds so fucking cliche when you hear someone else say it. I get it.
Not to me, it
But
doesn't.
if you tell yourself that, and you can convince yourself, you'll kind of realize that, oh yeah, that was really fucked up, but this came out of it eventually. That was bad, but this came out of it eventually. So I really do feel that if you can assure yourself that with all the shit and crap and negativity that comes out, if you can somehow turn it into a positive and sort of take a step back and know that it's going to be a positive and let it just play itself out. It's going to help you out and it's going to make you endure through those shitty times.
So when you lose, don't lose the lesson. But when you were younger and you were starting out, did you know that one day you were going to be in the SAT club? Did you know that you were going to be doing these big? Did some part of you just know that's where you were going to be?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Because I really did say I was going to be the posters on my wall. And now, you know, most of the posters that I've had on my wall, pretty much all the posters that I had on my wall, I've either toured with those bands, met those bands, or had some sort of, you know, conversation with the members of those bands. So that to me, you know, just really gives me, but it took a freaking long time, right? You know, it's like, I just recently, you know, well, no, I just recently, as far as 2000, you know, 15 or whatever, had this connection with the guys in Motley Crue. But guess what? Too Fast for Love, that album cover was hanging on my wall when it first came out in 1983. So, you know, it takes time, but it does happen and it will happen.
Yeah.
And especially today when shit's so accessible. I think musicians are more accessible than ever. Like, as long as you're not a dick and you're not an asshole and you just ask a question, maybe it might not get answered, but I tell you, it'll get viewed and someone will take it in. You know, I've tried that a lot lately with like reaching out to people that I feel are really inspirational and or really good at what they do. And I just say, look, I'll DM them and I'll say, look, what you did was awesome. And I see that some of them have read my message. Some of them never even check messages. Like, if you want to put it this way, if you want to send Alice Cooper a message, I can tell you right now, he doesn't have social media.
No.
I mean, maybe if you can get through his wife or his assistant or something, but he's pure in that sense. Like, you know, like he has a cell phone, but it's never turned on. So maybe with Alice Cooper, it'd be hard to get a message through, but you know, so many other people that I have, like, you know, tried to reach out to, they reach me. They actually acknowledge it. And a lot of people are happy that, you know, they appreciate. No one's going to disparage a compliment. Everybody enjoys a compliment. Everyone likes to be recognized for something that they've done, even if they heard it a million times. Even if you go and tell Johnny Depp that he's really good looking, he's going to appreciate it, you know? So, and the thing is, Johnny Depp is really good looking, and he's also a really great guitar player. He's one of the most prepared. He's one of the most prepared guitar players that has ever come up with us on stage. Because he come up with, you know, before he was jamming with Alice in the Hollywood Vampires, he would come and guest guitar with us, and he really, really did do his homework. I think he viewed it almost like doing a movie because he was so well prepared. And Alice Cooper songs are not the easiest songs to just come up and jam. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, I know that song," but they, "Oh, whoa, I didn't know that switch happened. Oh, it only happened 3 times instead of 4." So, you know, hats off to Johnny Depp for being so well prepared. And you know, we had a great time playing all the times that we did jam together.
Yeah, shouts out to Johnny Depp because he's definitely listening. So hi, Johnny.
There he is. I wouldn't doubt it.
What impact? Like, I want to tie everyone around.
If his island has Wi-Fi, I'm not sure if the Wi-Fi
island
in
has
his private
Wi-Fi.
island is up.
Bless him. He's gorgeous. So method acting, it all ties in. But again, these are the people that really interest me. It's crazy, passionate, you know, full of life people that are living their dream and doing what they wanted to do since they were a kid. And somehow they've figured out how to do it, and they're doing it, you know, no holds barred. And, you know, it's inspirational, I think. And that's what I want to take away from this. Like, how can we take a chunk of that and how can people break it down to implement it into their own lives and make any dream they want become a reality in any?
I believe you can.
industry.
I believe the tools are there. The platform is there, and everything's relative. You know, if you're thinking you're going to get 1.2 million Instagram followers just because you put out a great song, you know, you're kind of smoking crack. But if you're thinking you put out a great song and you can build something from that, and you can sort of start within your own orbit and then grow from there. Then I think it's much more realistic. I think as long as you can be pragmatic about your success and, think big, but work small, I guess, in a sense, like concentrate on what's in front of you, keeping your eye on the end goal, but, definitely keep in mind what small task you have to do to get through that next day. Like my task today is doing this interview. My ultimate goal is to, basically be on the Joe Rogan podcast and promoting my podcast with his, gazillion followers. But you are helping me with that, achieve that, because I'm doing yours. I'm gaining experience. I'm talking to you, feeling more comfortable in front of the mic, feeling more comfortable with questions. It's like, it's all an experience and a learning experience. And I'm enjoying the ride. I'm enjoying this interview.
Enjoy the ride. I love it. So we'll finish it up with this, but what you mentioned the guitar method and how you want to get a guitar into everyone's hand, how you want to pass the torch of rock and roll to people. What impact does Ryan Roxie want to make?
Well, if I can sort of inspire a bunch of, people, it doesn't have to be male, female, old, young, just people to start learning guitar, start their guitar journey. And if they already have started it, get to that next level of performing, playing in clubs, playing in bigger venues, then I will feel that my sort of presence was worth it. It was like, the things that I've done throughout my career, as far as, doing this project amongst this project, it has inspired enough people for them to take it on themselves to do something. Obviously, whatever it is, I feel you have the power to do. But my focus is music. It's entertaining. It's always been to try and inspire people to do those things. But if you can take my words and my sort of advice and the lessons that I've learned in life and make it work for whatever situation you're in, then that's even better for me, because it means that, wow, my words transcended just music. It went, to other walks of life.
And that's what I want to do with this podcast, because I can have a wrestler on, I can have a guitarist on, I can have anyone on for any walk of life, and the message is still the same. You have a passion and you have a dream, and there are steps, and it's not an accident why somebody ends up in front of a big audience. It's the same. There's a method to learning guitar. There's a method to being successful. There's a method. So it's interesting to sort of get feedback and understand how different people achieve that. So thank you, Ryan. Your method, I want to start using it immediately.
Yo, what's up, freaks? NB Marshall here, and thank you for joining the NB Marshall Show with my very special guest, Mr. Ryan effing Roxie. Get your little grubby paws on the System 12 guitar method and take your guitar playing to the next effing level. We love you. Link in bio and description.
And hopefully it'll be just making you an even stronger player. So, I mean, I see you got the guitar right in back of you right now. And
I do play. I just get frustrated.
But you have is that a music stand?
Yeah, I got a music stand. I got my Vixen album. They're my favorite band. You remember Vixen?
Vixen, I just had Cher Ross, the bass player, on my
Did
podcast.
You? I love her.
Yeah, well, you know what? Here's the thing. One hand washes the other. Both hand washes the feet. That's my friend Weeds. That's his advice that he says, because I always pick up on as many good life advice quotes as possible. But yeah, one hand washes the other. Both hands wash the feet. I will turn you on to Cher Ross and get her on your show.
Amazing.
As long as you promise never to have that music stand on stage, because I don't think music stands for rock and roll are cool on stage. One time I went to an Oasis concert and I saw Noel Gallagher with a fucking music stand, and I lost a little bit of credibility. It pinged me a little. As much as I love Noel Gallagher, he had a fucking music stand on stage.
Unless he had a bong on it, then it's fine.
He didn't. It was like lyrics or something like that. And I get it. You got to remember lyrics or stuff like that. But you know what? Then you're Noel Gallagher. Buy a fucking teleprompter.
Did he just write the song that day or something? Or was it? It wasn't Wonderwall, I hope.
Dude, I don't know. It was a music stand like that, and I get very fearful of it.
That's so cool.
That's all. It's not rock and roll. Someone told me a long time ago, actually it was Gilby, he said wearing a wristwatch on stage is not rock and roll. And then he started wearing a wristwatch on stage. So he's like, well, yeah, but this one's rock and roll.
That was his, maybe, yeah, okay, that's fine. Maybe his wasn't. Sorry,
you can change your mind.
Is this rock and roll?
I'm not saying that, huh?
Is this rock and roll?
That's rock and roll. Yes. Making out with your pet dog on screen is completely fine.
A Metallica bandana on, so he's forgiven. He's forgiven.
He looks very, very dedicated.
He is the best thing in the whole world.
To licking you.
Ryan, happy Valentine's Day. It was so good to have my
happy
first
Valentine's Day to you. Thanks for having me on, Evie.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to get stuck into the guitar method. It's wonderful to have you. Thank you for teaching us so much about your own journey. And I just can't wait to see what happens for Ryan Roxie in 2021. You're a gorgeous thing, Ryan. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Emily. I'll see you and the rest of you all soon.
Yes, you will.
Thank you for joining us, freaks. I highly, highly recommend jumping onto the System 12 guitar method by Ryan Roxie. It's improved my guitaring and it will improve yours too. Keep on rocking, babies. In the background now, my single, The Fire, on Spotify, iTunes Music. Thank you for having my back. I got yours too, babies. I'll see you soon.